Turns out I am not very good at guessing. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am wrapping up all of the books that I thought I would give 5 stars to in 2020. I finally read all 5 of these. It actually took me right to the end of the year to finish them. I think I finished the last book that was on this list in mid to late December. I think like around 2 or 3 days before Christmas Eve. But I finally read all 5 of them, so let's take a look at how I actually thought that they went. The last book that I did actually just finish was one that I had anticipated for the whole of 2020. I got it as soon as it came out. I got a pre-order of it and it came to my house like 2 or 3 days after it was published, and it was Pretending by Holly Bourne. Holly is one of my auto-buy authors, and I put this on the 5-star list specifically because she's an auto-buy author. And because most of the books that I love are hers. And every book that I have read of hers, I have given 4 stars or up. So I knew that this was a really good candidate for a 5-star read. Except that it wasn't a 5-star read. It was probably a 4.5 or a 4. But it was just missing something that made it a 5-star read for me. So this is about April, who can't seem to get past the 5th date. And eventually she decides to become this other persona. So she makes up this persona called Gretel, who's kind of like your manic pixie dream girl, not real, completely dates like a guy, doesn't put feelings into it, doesn't respond immediately, plays so many games. I think that was the reason that I didn't like this book, the whole game playing scenario when she eventually went out on these dates with a guy called Josh, and they start getting closer and she's starting to realize that living as Gretel isn't so easy when she's starting to really fall for this guy. Another really good aspect of this book is that it deals with sexual violence, sexual trauma, sexual harassment, that kind of area of relationships, which is something that's not really tackled very often in books that I read, and I felt like this was done really well. A reason for that might be is that Holly has worked in call centers that deal with this previously, and she had so much experience with it and knew how to write this storyline and what would be okay to say and what would not be okay to say in these instances. I felt like that personal experience was shown so well in this book, and it made it such a great but also really stomach clenching read. The second book on the list is one that I listened to as an audiobook, and I had intended to listen to it as an audiobook. I tried the physical copy and I think I gave it like 20 pages when I knew this is going to work so much better as an audiobook for me. And that book was Becoming by Michelle Obama. I loved this. This one definitely got 5 stars from me, and I would 100% recommend it to anybody and everybody. There was so much to love about that book. I loved reading about her childhood in the south side of Chicago, when she would take piano lessons from one of her neighbors who was also her grandmother or her aunt or her grandaunt or some relation to the family. When she went to college, I think she was the first person of her family to go to college. When she met Barack, when she was working in a law firm and he was an intern there, their relationship, their marriage, what it was, family life was like before they got to the White House, how they got to the White House, after the White House. I loved this book so much, and I loved also the aspect of Michelle telling it to me as an audiobook. That's how I really like listening to memoirs by celebrities. I really loved sitting down with them and having them tell me their story. I think it's the best way that you can experience a celebrity memoir, having them tell you their story. That, listening to it, is probably one of the biggest reasons that I gave it 5 stars. So the middle book that we're going to talk about didn't get 5 stars, probably didn't even get a rating because I didn't finish it. Friedrich Bachmann's Baretown. So Paige from Pages of Page and we decided to buddy read this in, I think, July or so. And I took it to work with me because I take all of my books to work with me and read it during my lunch break, read it on my commute, that kind of a thing. But I left it in the office on the Friday evening, and I was off sick the whole week after that. And I think I just got out of the swing of reading it. I will definitely go back to this. It's still on my TBR. I will definitely go back to it at some stage because it is a really gripping read. I think I had just been out of the swing of it for so long. That whole week of just not picking it up, I had completely forgotten what was happening. I forgot who these characters were. I forgot what was happening when I had let the book down. And I found it really hard to get back into it. And I didn't want to go all the way back because I think I was like this far in. And that was far enough that I was like, I'm just going to have to pick it up another time. So it didn't get 5 stars right now. But that's not to say it might not get 5 stars in the future. Another book that I thought would get 5 stars, and one that I read as an ebook, and also one that I read as a NetGalley copy, was In Case You Missed It by Lindsay Kelk. And I didn't give this one 5 stars, but I did give it a really strong 4. I connected with this book really well because it follows Roz, who comes back home having lived in Washington, D.C. for almost 3 years. Her relationship has broken down. She's coming back to a life that she didn't leave behind and that she wasn't expecting to come back to. Because when you go away, you kind of get it in your head somehow that your friends' lives and your family's lives are going to completely pause until you come back. And that obviously doesn't happen. Like, your friends will get engaged, your friends will get married, your friends will move houses, they will have kids, maybe they'll buy their own houses. They might just adopt a dog and call him Milo. Friends, family, everything that you leave behind, it's all going to change, and it's not going to just keep on pause because you've moved country for a couple of years. And I think that that was something that I definitely associated with, because when I came back to Ireland, having done my master's in Cardiff, so much of my friends' lives had changed and I wasn't there for it. One of my cousins had her first baby. One of my friends moved in with her partner. Another one of my friends got a brand new job in a completely different field than I had known her working in before. And I find it really hard to kind of marry these two connections in my head, that this is the friend that I left behind, but this is who they are now. And that's something that Roz struggles with for quite a lot of the book, and finds herself really alienated from these people that she would have been so close to before she left. I also really enjoyed watching the romance unfold. And I put romance in air quotes because I wouldn't really call this a great romance. Like Pretending, this has kind of elements of a not great relationship, and the kind of relationship that you read and you think, these are the signs that I need to watch out for in the future. It's definitely a book that I would recommend, and it's definitely a book that I would pick up again in the future, but I don't think it got 5 stars. And so last book that was on the list is one that so many people that I've known have read it and loved it. My friend Lindsay, who's an author, read this and absolutely adored it, and that was kind of the main reason for me to pick it up when I knew that it was on my TBR anyway, and I knew that it was one of the books that I was giving 5 stars to, or thought I would give 5 stars to. So I picked up Where the Crawdad Sing by Delia Owens. And I will admit, I didn't give it 5 stars, but the main reason I didn't is because of the beginning. I think it took me like 50 or so pages to actually get into what the action of the story was, to get that kind of gripped feeling that you would always get with a 5-star book, that I think that was missing out in this book. But once I got past those 50 pages and once the action really started to kick in, I was hooked. I could not put that book down. I think I finished the final maybe 100 or so, maybe 150 or so pages in one sitting up until about 11:30 at night, when I genuinely should have been asleep. That is the kind of book that you really want, but not when you're trying to fall asleep. You just want it when you sit down and you sink into the world, and I would describe this as a page turner, but after the first 50 pages. So once you can get past that, you've got a really great book in store. So that is kind of the reason why I maybe gave it a 4.5 stars, but I definitely didn't give it 5. So these, plus Becoming, plus In Case You Missed It, are the books that I thought would get 5 stars in 2020. Some did, some did not. What books did you think would get 5 stars, and did you actually give them 5 stars? Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.